Hiya, I'm Bruce Fummey. Now, Mary Queen of Scots is the most iconic of Scottish monarchs. Her life is seen as a tragedy. In truth, it was more of an accident, and in this video I'm going to explain why. So if you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then hit the subscribe button at the bottom right hand side of the screen at any time and click the notification bell to make sure that they tell you when I bring out a new video. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. Today is the 1st of January. Now, in 1537, it had a significance more than just being New Year's Day. But to understand why, you'll have to watch the end of this video. First, I need to tell you about 4 funerals and a wedding, and some stuff that happened in there. This is Stirling Castle. It's hugely associated with Mary Queen of Scots. As a child, she was brought here for protection from her nasty great uncle Henry VIII. As a mother, she held a great pageant here on what's now the Esplanade and car park for the baptism of her son James. It was leaving here after a visit with him that she was abducted by Bothwell, never to see her son again as her life spiralled downwards. It was in that church at the other side of the car park that at the age of 1 her son was crowned King of Scots in her absence. But I digress. Some folks weren't happy with Mary as Queen of Scots, but I'm going to take you inside to explain why Mary should never have been Queen of Scots in the first place. Come on. Okay, so Historic Scotland did give me permission to film, but then they closed the castle for COVID. If you were standing in the central courtyard of Stirling Castle though, which would you think was the most stunning centrepiece? The Great Hall built by Mary's granddad James IV, or the Renaissance Palace built by her dad James V for her mum Marie de Guise? It's Marie de Guise that we're going to talk about for a moment. In marrying Marie de Guise, James was marrying into one of the most wealthy and powerful families in France during what became the last hurrah of the Franco-Scottish alliance. For him at the time, this was a no-brainer. He had this Renaissance palace built for her, and for me it's the high point of any visit to what I think is Scotland's best castle visit when you get in. Now, James wasn't Marie de Guise's only suitor. She was also being pursued by Henry VIII as his 4th wife after Jane Seymour, although Marie famously said that she feared her neck was too small for such a great marriage as that. James had met Marie during a 9-month period that he spent in France looking for a suitable bride. She sailed for her new life here in Scotland in June 1538, destined to be the mother of the most famous Queen of Scots. Not quite. You see, the child Mary was neither male nor the firstborn of the marriage between James and Marie de Guise. Mary was, in fact, the 3rd child. I should say the 3rd legitimate child. Henry was a terrible rake. But Mary Queen of Scots had 2 elder brothers, James and Robert. Her eldest brother, James, was born the rightful heir to the throne in St Andrews on the 22nd of May 1540. 4 days later, he was baptised in a lavish ceremony with the nobles of the land and messages sent to the King of France and the child's great uncle, the spurned Henry VIII, who must have been delighted. James and Marie were graced with a further son, Robert, on the 12th of April the next year. But that April brought pain as well as joy, because both little boys had died before the month was out. It was because of these 2 deaths in April 1541 that James and Marie were left childless. It was because of the subsequent death of James himself, 6 days after the birth of his daughter, that in December the next year, Mary became Queen of Scots. So you see, Mary was never supposed to have been the child Queen of Scots. The early death of her 2 brothers and her dad thrust her as a newborn babe into the maelstrom of European politics. It wasn't long before she was brought here to Stirling Castle, to the more defensible place to protect her from her uncle Henry VIII's rough wooing. But the story goes deeper than that. You see, not only was Mary the third child, but James was never even supposed to marry her mother, Marie de Guise, in the first place. You see, when James was in France looking for a wife, Marie was never in his plans. In fact, Marie de Guise was James V's second wife. Let me explain. James's dad, James IV, was the last Scottish, indeed the last British monarch to be killed in battle. He was killed at the Battle of Flodden after invading England to help France. Or was he? If you haven't already seen it, you should watch my video, The King Who Never Died. I'll leave a link at the end, obviously. Scotland had invaded France as part of our treaty obligations to France, but we were so badly decimated at Flodden that in gratitude, Scots were given special privileges to trade and to settle in France. Also, when that treaty, the Auld Alliance, was renewed at Rouen in 1517, James IV's surviving son, James V, was promised the hand of one of the King of France's daughters. Now, the French king's elder daughter had been promised to the King of Spain. What's more, by the time James was looking for a wife, the French king argued that his younger daughter, Madeleine, was too sickly to marry and to head off to Scotland. She may have had TB, but she was certainly poorly with some kind of respiratory complaint. So when James crossed the Channel, the French king had promised him the same dowry as he would have got for marrying his own daughter, but to marry Marie of Bourbon. Now, if you're upset at all the chauvinism right now, two things. One, don't shoot the messenger. And two, it's about to get worse. They say Marie of Bourbon wasn't much of a looker. And when James got there and saw her, he said, "No, honour the treaty." Not only that, but Madeleine, the 16-year-old sickly princess, wanted to marry James because she said she wanted to be a queen before she died. So James V of Scotland and Madeleine of France were married in Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris on New Year's Day 1537. They left France in May to return to Scotland, but on the 7th of July, Madeleine died. A queen. It turns out the King of France was right about the effects of Scotland on his daughter. James should have married Marie of Bourbon, but ended up marrying Madeleine of France. But she died, and he ended up marrying the widow Marie de Guise. She bore James 2 heirs, but they died, and that is why their third child, Mary, became Queen of Scots in December 1542. There's a link to my video, The King Who Never Died, and you'll find it here. If you want more about Mary Queen of Scots, then I've got a video about how she escaped from prison, and that is up there. In the meantime, ha mi an dóchas gún bí lam alive. Cheery and Drasta.